on behalf of Chris and John, it's my pleasure to welcome you to their home and to wedding number 2. Now, I said to Chris before we started, most people get divorced before they marry again, but you know, if something is worth doing, it's definitely worth doing twice, as these two will prove. So today we are going to help them celebrate their love in a place they love, surrounded by the people they love. Of course, that is all of you, so it's great to see so many of you here today in their castle in the sky. And you can see the clouds there to prove it. So, which I guess means one of you must be the princess. No. Yes, let's not go there. Okay, now let me introduce myself. My name is Stephen Lee, and I am the celebrant today, and thank you guys for asking me here. It's a great pleasure to be amongst all your family and your very closest friends. Now, today is very much a party and a celebration, as well as wedding number 2, and I'm sure I don't need to tell all of you this, but please don't feel you have to stand there and be ever so quiet. We would love you to join in, so please clap, cheer, laugh, cry. You can even, dare I say, heckle if you wish. And you can do that and show your love and your encouragement for these two. Okay. Exactly. Now, as all of you know, last weekend, these two went off to New Zealand to get legally married. And so these two are now legally husbands, at least in New Zealand. Now, as you also know, unfortunately here in Australia, that is not legal yet, but the way things are going, well, we might not have to wait too long. Let's hope so. Now, did you see Beverly's post? Oh, we have some more guests. There we go. Now, did you all see Beverly's post on Facebook, I think last week? And she had contacted her MP, which is Tanya Plibersek, a high-profile supporter of marriage equality, about John and Chris. And in her reply, Tanya said, do you know, I agree that Chris and John should not have to go to New Zealand to get married. But I'm hopeful our same-sex marriage bill will be successful and we will see legislation by Christmas. So please pass on my very best for Chris and John's future together. Now, I know not all of you were able to make it to New Zealand last weekend, and so I'm going to invite their friend Owen to join us now. Owen was there. He was at the wedding. He's going to tell us what happened. So here we are.
Yes. So we got on a plane, saw 2 guys get married, and came back. Thank you. Stretch it. Oh, yes. Well, we arrived, and it was a little bit how you would expect New Zealand to look, a little bit wet, etc. But thankfully, on the day, the weather was beautiful for a beautiful day at a beautiful location. The Logan Brown restaurant in Wellington, which is a lovely old posh place. It's an old bank. That explains so much. The entrees arrived in safety deposit boxes. And it was a glorious day, beautiful. John and Chris surrounded by family and friends. I got to meet Chris's family for the first time. Got to meet John's family I've met them a few times, and it doesn't end. And it was Zini, who was the celebrant there, who gave some, introduced the crowd to a very lovely, ceremony, a legal ceremony in Wellington, which is beautiful. We had your friend Matthew was the best man, and your brother, Michael, I almost said Matthew, I'm so sorry, gave a really beautiful speech, which I think we have some video of somewhere, but we'll link to that later. But it was just lovely vows, which will you be redoing today? So I don't want to spoil it. We thought we didn't want to invent new ones. So yeah, I won't spoil them, but very much in line with who Chris and John are and what they mean to each other. Yeah, it was a beautiful day. We had a beautiful lunch that went on to the afternoon in the same location, and amazing food, company, friends. It was absolutely baffling why we had to export all of that to another country. To really, it makes no sense. But as Stephen says, hopefully, passes on from Tanya Christmas maybe. That yeah, you'll be recognised in this country as well. Yeah, so it was a lovely day, and let's all toast to the happy couple, husband and husband, Chris and John.
Oh, and thank you very much indeed. Okay, now there are many ways I can describe these two to you. They are best friends, confidant, kindred spirit, soulmate, and now, as Owen says, we can also call them husbands as well. Now, today, they're going to reaffirm their wedding vows that they had written for each other last weekend, and what better place to do that than home? Now, home, of course, is our most personal and comfortable place where compassion, laughter, and love are nurtured. We can truly relax and be ourselves. And it's a place all of you know well. I know that they've lived here together for several years. Chris has been here for 14. And so today we're going to add another very happy memory to the many all around us today. And they're going to do that in front of all of you here today, the people who mean the most to them. Now, they think of their friends very much as their family as well. Hello to our late arrivals over there. And the fact that there are so many of you packed into the room today, I think really speaks volumes about how loved these two are in return. Now, we have people here from overseas, we have some from interstate, and others from just down the road. So thank you all for being here today. I know it means the world to Chris and John to have you all shoulder to shoulder to them today at such an important time in their lives. I also know how thrilled you all are for them too. John's younger sister Louise had something to say to me, as she is over there. And she said, you know, I'm very excited about these two getting married as I love Chris. He makes my brother happy and they simply dag around together. Now, there are a few people who can't be here today. John's mum and stepdad, Maureen and Kenneth, have gone cruising. Chris. Chris's parents, Marie and Cole, are also unable to be here, and lots of Chris's family are up in Queensland, but I know they're here in spirit and they send their love very much and best wishes for a great day. Okay, now what can I tell you about these two that you don't already know? Well, probably not very much. Now, let's talk about the many reasons, though, these two fell in love with each other. So that story begins 27 years ago when they were brought together over free condoms and tea. Now, indeed, some of you I know today are from that coming out group, which they met at. And over the following years, just like the Barbra Streisand song, where they were coming in and out of each other's lives through that group as facilitators and also through mutual friends as well. Now, right from the start, they did find it very easy to talk to each other and they felt very comfortable in each other's company. Now, they discovered a shared obsession with Star Trek, of course. Now, John had all the videos and he supplied them off to friends. These were the days when we had tapes, of course. Now, he had a book, and if you borrowed one of his videotapes, well, you got written down in the book, just like a library, so he could keep track of who had what. So although these two had known each other for a long time, it was never really the right time or the right place for them to get together. And so over those years, they simply remained very good friends. Now, it wasn't until, 5 years ago that all of that changed, thanks to something of a chance meeting. Now, John had just moved into the neighborhood from Newtown, and they bumped into each other in the streets just around the corner from here, actually. Now, a renewed friendship followed after that, with lots of lunches and lots of dinners. And at long last, well, Chris decided to take the bull by the horns, and he decided to propose. Now, Chris explained it to me like this. He said, Joe, I'd never really understood about marriage or why you would want to buy flowers for somebody. At work, I would hear other people ordering flowers, and I thought, well, why waste your money? So when I started thinking the very same thoughts about John, well, that was the point when I realized that he was the man that I wanted to marry. Now, that didn't go unnoticed, especially by their friend Susan. She said, I have known Chris for over 20 years, and it wasn't until he reconnected with John that I saw him succumb to that kind of sentimental, romantic love that the rest of us have all fumbled through at one stage or another. It was delightful to watch him go through that as well. John, well, he put it rather more bluntly than that. He said, well, there'd been 20 plus years of bullshit, which summed things up pretty well. But he said, despite knowing each other for all these years, even now, we always have things to talk about. I'd actually made the decision to simply be on my own in life, but then Chris came along and he changed everything. Yes. Okay, so what is it that makes their relationship work so well? Well, John said it's easy. It's, in fact, surprisingly easy. We don't argue and we don't fight. Is that true? Oh, well, there we are. You're the first couple I've met that never argue. That's very good. Now, Chris is incredibly smart. He tells me things I don't know all of the time. I can ask him anything and he will always have the answer, except, of course, if it's about Star Trek, because I am the undisputed authority on this one. He is funny, he is sarcastic and sometimes dark, and I like that too, and I simply miss him when he's not there. And Chris put it to me like this. He said, I used to have lots and lots of spare time in my life, but now I don't have any because I want to spend all of my time with John. He tells me that he loves me all of the time. He has the same sense of humor as me. I laugh at his jokes, he laughs at mine, and he was the first person ever to bring me breakfast in bed.
What's this?
Now, I'm sure you've all watched over the years of these two have taken the best from each other. They have grown together, both as individuals and as a couple too. They have helped to open each other's eyes to different ways of looking at the world and to experience different things together as well. Now, there's plenty of common ground between them, and they share the same feelings and thoughts and outlook on life as well. Now, that's not to say they don't have their differences. Chris hates cleaning, I'm told, and isn't allowed to touch the washing machine, because whereas John doesn't have a license to operate the dishwasher because he stacks it all wrong. But those differences serve not to separate them, but to create a great sense of balance in their relationship. And indeed, they have a very mutual understanding of how the other person feels about something. And they also help each other to be the very best that they can be. And they have trust, respect, and equality. Now, the connection they share, I'm sure, is obvious to all of you. It certainly is to their friend Matthew. Now, Matthew said to me, Chris and John's relationship works because they possess similar values, a shared sense of humor, and a deep love of science fiction. This will undoubtedly help them over the years to get through good and difficult times as well. I've been fortunate to observe their relationship growing over the past few years. They have frequently demonstrated a passionate affection and a strong sense of loyalty to each other. Now, their marriage will cement their relationship and help to prepare them for the future. They will have many happy and many rewarding times together, resulting in contentment and genuine life satisfaction. Now, that's nothing more than really any of us can ask for in life, and I wish them all the best. So thank you to Matthew for those words. Now, they are very much loved by everybody around them as well. Louise told me how much their children, Samuel, Georgia Ann, and Daniel, adore them. That's true, isn't it? She said they believe they are very lucky because they have two uncles who have lots of technology to share. John has downloaded lots of games. Well, John has downloaded lots of games onto their iPads and iPhones, and he shared all their miniatures of all their little toys as well, of Star Trek, Star Wars, Thunderbirds, cars, boats, and spaceships. There's plenty of them in the house, as you can see. They simply treat their children just like their own. Now, one thing these two also talked about with me as we sat down to plan today's ceremony were the reasons for wanting to get married. Now, Chris explained we want to demonstrate to our family and our friends that we are coming together to celebrate the love that we share. And John said simply, I've never been with anyone that I've wanted to marry. Chris is the first and the only one. It was an easy decision to say yes when Chris asked me. And that really is what marriage is all about. Marriage is about two people who want to share themselves and their experiences with one another, and it's a willingness to accept each other for who they are. Now, that requires lots of things. It requires commitment, cooperation, understanding, honesty, patience, respect, courage, and humor. Now, marriage is where each person cares for the other and supports them in all that they do. Now, that means losing a few battles along the way to keep the peace, providing a shoulder to cry on when needed, and a big smile to fill each other's hearts with warmth. Now, as you've heard, Chris and John's relationship is built very much on that firm foundation of love and of friendship, and you really can't ask for any better foundation going forward. Now, in fact, I turn to a great philosopher for some inspiration for this moment before we get to the vows, James T. Kirk. Now, his wisdom is this: sometimes a feeling is all we humans have to go on. And what better feeling is there than love? So Chris and John, keep holding each other's hands, because now the time has come for you to reaffirm your marriage vows to each other. Got your glasses. Great. That's good. Now, these are the promises that they made to each other last weekend in New Zealand, and they would like to make them again today to each other in front of their family and their friends. And Chris is going to start.
Yeah, you're on the other side. So, John, I promise to put food on the table and always to give you the first bite. I promise to warm up the house in the morning and make the coffee. I'll be there to talk to you about Star Trek, Star Wars, or Starlight Express. And I'll defend you if people talk about you behind your back, and I'll never let you go out looking like that. I will keep you away from the dishwasher and the iron, for which you are not licensed. And when you want a martini at 2 a.m, I will call a cab. I will keep your technology current and always keep your apps up to date. And I'll spend every spare hour with you and have you by my side whenever I'm not working to support our family. You mean the world to me, and I'm proud to say that to everyone here, that I love you.
Thank you. My turn?
Your turn.
I didn't make it last time. I didn't know what to say. I didn't think this day would come.
Suck it up.
Okay. I miss you when you're away. I always have a million things to tell you, even when you're not here. You love me every day, and every day until the day I die. I thank you for that, husband. Thank you. I love you, and I'll never let go of your hand.
Well done, guys. So Chris and John, you've made your vows again to each other in front of your family and your friends. Those wonderful words you wrote, I'm sure, will be a great source of strength and happiness in the years ahead. And of course, a reminder of the joy of both of your wedding ceremonies. Now, the wedding rings that you gave to each other in New Zealand are unending circles. There they are, with no beginning and no end, and they symbolize your everlasting love for each other. Now, they may be made of precious metal, but now they contain something far more precious. In fact, something which is priceless. That is your love and your hope and your good wishes for each other as you begin married life. Now, everyone, I have their marriage certificate here from New Zealand. So I ask you please to congratulate John and Chris with a very large and long, loud round of applause as I present them with their official marriage certificate. Congratulations, guys. Now, guys, as you head off into married life, well, I have some advice to share with you, and this comes from Louise. So I'll take that from you and put that down there. Now, Louise says, my advice for married life is firstly, well, Chris, you're not marrying my mother, Maureen. And secondly, babysit my children more. Enjoy the many moments together, not just the big ones like holidays, but simple ones like eating breakfast together or waiting for the other person to finish their sentence before interjecting. So, Chris and John, I know I speak for all of us here when I wish you a lifetime of love, laughter, joy, and fulfillment. Now, we're going to sign your reaffirmation of vows certificate, witnessed by Sue and Louise. That is outside on the table on the balcony. So I can ask you four to move outside to sign that. Everybody else, thank you again for coming. Make sure you have a drink, make sure you have some food, and enjoy the party. Thank you very much indeed.